Yo, what is up, you guys? Rack here, and today I wanted to make a video about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and its current state and the way the game has been going. Currently, Tiny Tina's is, in my eyes, one of the biggest flops the Borderlands franchise has pretty much had ever since the pre-sequel. Like, and we all remember how bad the pre-sequel was, but Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is, like, honestly, I think worse than the pre-sequel, even though it's been some time since I played the pre-sequel. At least the pre-sequel has some highlights about it, and like most of the things, some things are fun, but just not fun like Borderlands 2. But Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, I think pretty right now, is really bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start talking about things. For one, the weapon varieties and their strength. And when I say weapon variety, I honestly mean like legendary weapons. The legendary weapons in this game are very far and thin. Like, looking at it, there's not as many as they were in Borderlands 3, and they're not strong. Like, majority of the legendary weapons in this game are not strong in the slightest. Like, there's only like a handful that are really something that you can use in game to like fight things like raid bosses or like the chaos trials and things of that nature. But other than that, these legendaries are just not fun. Like, they're, like I said, very far and thin from like strong, and then there's like some of these are like really strong and these are really weak, or some of these are like just really weak and there's absolutely no reason you should be using them in the slightest. Moving on to the next scene, in game is like incredibly repetitive, and also it's the fact that they've locked raid bosses behind the end game is really weird, because when I say in game, I'm specifically talking about the chaos chambers. And the chaos chambers, you know, once you've played this game enough, the chaos chambers are supposed to be randomly generated each and every time you play through, but most of them are kind of repetitive and you kind of know the maps. They're not really as randomly generated as we thought they were going to be before the game released. The chaos chambers are really just annoying at this point. Like, and it is bad enough to, like, you know, fine, all right, chaos chambers are a thing that can be an end game. They locked raid bosses behind the chaos chambers, so basically in the game we have 4 raid bosses, but you literally can't go get to access them unless you do through the chaos chambers, which I think is utterly really stupid, because Borderlands 3 didn't do it like that. Not Borderlands 3, but Borderlands 2 didn't do it like that. Borderlands 2 is pretty much, hey, you see this raid boss, run up to it, spend some iridium, you go fight them, that's your fun. Like, you know, that was fine and that was fun. They keep trying to tweak the formula when the formula doesn't need to be tweaked, and it's just not working out, because like I haven't played Tiny Tina's Wonderlands since release week of the first DLC, and I have not had any incentive to go back and play it. I seen the next DLC and people were saying like, yo, it's exactly like how the first DLC was, not even worth the time. And then with these DLCs, it's not even super huge story expansion. They're really boring and bland. It's almost like a less fun Malawan takedown. Like, even at least Malawan takedown was really fun. That way we just went in there, killed all the mini bosses, then we got the Wotan, we got our invincible boss at the end. That was fun. That was something. But these current DLCs they're giving to us are just like, they're not fun at all. These almost might as well be like the headhunter packs we got from Borderlands 2, like the Bloody Harvest and, like, you know, Moxie's wedding day thing, like all those headhunters and stuff. Might as well be that. These have no right to be called like DLCs, like in the slightest. They are not fun. I also want to talk about the poor legendary loot distribution. A lot of these good, like the good weapons, I would assume, are locked behind the chaos chambers. And when I say they're locked behind chaos chambers, if you've played Tiny Tina's, I mean, obviously this is spoilers. If you're playing this, you've been in the chaos chambers at this point. But the barf bunnies are really obnoxious to deal with, because you're almost not guaranteed a legendary. Like, I've done several runs where I only got 1 legendary out of that whole room, and I spent like 3,000 coins, or I forget what the currency was in there, coins or crystals or whatever. I spent 3,000, only got 1 legendary, and that was from the chest you open when you first get in there. So yeah, a lot of them are locked behind there and they like spawn nowhere else. Other weapons are like rings or amulets and stuff, they're world drop only, right? They don't have a specific looting spot. There's not like a specific boss you can go to like, hey, I want to try to get the best roll I can get at this. Sorry, you just are out of luck. Stick to grinding the chaos trials. Like, and the thing that makes me the most mad about this one per se is Borderlands 3 had the same exact problem at the launch and they fixed it. I would think with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands being the game that comes after Borderlands 3, and they acknowledge and see the mistakes they made with that game, Because like as of right now, Borderlands 3 is actively a really good Borderlands game. Like, you know, after they fix all the things, patched up some more weapons, like, you know, it feels really fun to go and play Borderlands 3, like from start to finish, doing all the DLCs. It's just really still fun. But the thing is, I would hope that they had learned their lesson, but they didn't. Like, you know, with Tiny Tina's Wonderland, it released and like, you know, it's like, you know, first month hype, you know, we're getting used to more like weapons, the classes, damage interactions, all the crazy stuff we can do. But once the honeymoon phase is over, it's like you look at it and it's got glaring issues and you're already ready for a divorce. Like it's not good. Like I said, the loot is not spread between these bosses enough, and there's like no, like a game like Borderlands, like the pre-existing history is that you want to like heart match and like you want to get the best version of that weapon you can possibly get. It almost feels like you can't do that in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands because it's just not fun to try and go and do. The next thing I wanted to say is the classes. Some of them are like underwhelming, and then other classes are like stupidly strong and like ridiculously strong. One case in point being Spell Shot. Amazing class. I'm not gonna lie to you, Spell Shot is amazing, dude. Like if you really wanted to just have that one class to run through the game, use Spell Shot. Spell Shot is essentially the Salvador of the game, where like, you know, it's a one glove fits all kind of situation where like if you Spell Shot, you almost don't even need another secondary class. Spell Shot could probably handle it on its own. But there's just it's too much. Like Spell Shot, really, I thought they would nerf it, but they never did nerf it. I think I haven't kept up with the game at all because it's been some time since I booted up that game. I have had no drive to play it. I remember I think it was the Wyvern class. I forget what it was. I think it was Clawbringer. Clawbringer is really weak. I don't know if it's gotten buffed since then, but I remember like starting out it was really weak, and like the only classes I care about was Spell Shot and I think Spore Warden. I think those were the only two that were like of anything it's starting out. Maybe Graveborn and the one where you disappear. I forget the name of it. Stabomancer. Yeah, Stabomancer. Those were the top four, and for good reason. Like even Stabomancer, like while it was strong, it had to be paired up with something else. But like the classes were just, it was too far and thin. Like this whole game's thing was like it tried to try to bring melee weapons to the forefront, but it just didn't work out. Melee weapons were not as good as they should have been. Another thing, amulets are really bland and only offer certain classes like a big benefit. Like you have to play a super specific way in order for the amulets to work. And the amulets, I feel like they kind of played it safe with them. That way they didn't try to kind of make them like game breaking as they probably should have been. Like the amulets kind of, in my eyes, how I seen it, the amulet should have been what the artifacts was in Borderlands 3, to where like it only enhances classes. But within Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, the amulets to me is just like, there's not really any standout amulets that it's like, oh, you need to get this, or like, yeah, you should really get this to help yourself out. It doesn't do that in the slightest. They're just not good. And then the last point I wanted to say is like, this also kind of ties into the first point I made. Purple weapons straight up outperform legendary weapons in this game, and it's really not a good thing. Like there's almost no incentive to like go out there and go get this legendary or go grinding for it, because like I said, you're not guaranteed to get this legendary from a specific spot. It's not gonna happen. Purple weapons just get like they're so much stronger than legendary weapons that it doesn't make sense. Where I literally would tell people in my build videos, be like, hey, some legendary weapons, don't even bother it. Go get this purple weapon right here. You're gonna start slapping bosses like left and right. It's gonna outperform almost everything else. Now there's a few legendary weapons that are really good and like do their job well, but majority of them pale in comparison to some of the purples, and it's just really bad. But mostly this has been like all my opinions on why I think the game flopped and failed. I hate that it did this, because I really was looking forward to Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, because I think everybody was, because like we were finally getting a Borderlands game where you can create your own character, pick your own class, you know, mix and match things. Like it had everything to be a good game, but it just failed. Like it failed really hard. And maybe Gearbox can fix it, hopefully, but I don't see them fixing this. I don't see them coming back from this. I see them mostly just looking at this game, kind of dropping it off wayside and just focusing on Borderlands 4 next. At this point, I think that's all they can do. But this has been a pretty lengthy video already. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully something becomes Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, maybe. I doubt it though. But I hope you guys liked it. Subscribe, enjoy all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.